You know that word perfect really is fucked up. I know. I just said that. Social media, it's fucked up. I'll tell you why. Anybody who is dealing with perfectionism issues really had somebody in their childhood that made them feel that they weren't good enough. Or they had a spouse or a teacher or somebody made them feel inferior, okay, that they weren't good enough. So they spent the rest of their life trying to outdo those idiotic, negative comments that ruled their life. When somebody tells you you're stupid, you don't do nothing right, or some kind of comment like that, or you had a parent that you felt like you needed to do everything the right way, get perfect A's, not just A's, the perfect A's, wore your clothes a certain way, did sports a certain way, acted a certain way, was the good girl or the good boy. You're basically doing whatever you could because you felt that in order to get their love and their attention, you needed to do everything right. If not, they weren't going to pay attention to you. So as you grew up, what ended up happening is you judged all your relationships on that relationship. And guess what? Nobody in your life, it didn't matter who that was in your life, okay? Even if they accepted you the way you are, it wasn't going to matter because you were still dealing with that idea that you grew up with that you weren't good enough. And so the perfectionist is born. And the perfectionist, no matter how good they do what they do, no matter how perfect the situation is, no matter how many hours they spend at work, no matter if they volunteer or they're the perfect mom or the perfect dad or have 2-3 jobs, for some really weird, crazy reason, it's still not enough. It's not perfect because you're still trying to live up to some kind of unrealistic expectation that's never going to be enough. And so what ends up happening to you is that perfection is actually self-sabotage, okay? You're sabotaging yourself and you're giving yourself stress. Nobody's giving you stress, not your customers, not your clients, not the people in your life. You are going to give yourself stress because even if you're doing above and beyond the call of what it is required to do, in your mind, not what's happening, in your mind, it's not good enough. It's never going to be good enough. And you're going to always find something else, something else, something else. You will never fill that hole until you go into yourself and you go back into that place and you ask yourself, why does this keep on coming up? You don't even have to look far because somewhere deep down inside of you already has the answer. You just got to listen. You got to feel it. Where did it come from? I can guarantee you it's always telling you where it's come from. But you know what's happened? You keep it quiet. You shut it down because you know what? There's this weird thing inside of you that feels like it's almost an addiction to be perfect. Okay? It's like an emotion that keeps on coming up. You get a fix on being perfect. It's like you're in this elite group, this elite club because you're perfect. But the funniest part is all of those people that's in that elite group club, all stressed out. They're trying to live up to some crazy expectation that they put up for themselves that will never be attainable. Because as soon as they reach it, it's going further. As soon as they reach it, it's going further. And you know what? They beat themselves over the head. Even if everybody's happy with the outcome, they won't be happy with the outcome. That is the issue with the perfectionist. And you know what's really sad? The perfectionist actually is very fearful and very insecure. Because you know what? When it comes down to it, if they would make one mistake and it wasn't a big deal, nobody probably would know about it, but they would. You know how I know? Because I was brought up that way. You see, I was brought up the same way about the person I'm talking about right now. I know that person because I was brought up by my parents to have nothing but straight A's. I was brought up that if you brought home anything worse than an A minus, that wasn't good enough. An A minus wasn't good enough. An A wasn't good enough. You had to have an A plus. And then on top of that, it's like, it was unrealistic to be the good girl, the good Catholic girl, okay, to do everything right, okay? Listen to your dad, listen to your mom, wear your clothes a certain way. Everything had to be perfect, including my brother. My brother had the same issues. You can relate with what I'm talking about. It's almost like when you get to the point that it doesn't work, something inside of you breaks, and something inside of you says, I don't give a fuck. And the funniest thing about it is, it's because it was unrealistic anyway. You kind of knew that as a kid. You weren't supposed to be perfect. You were supposed to get dirty. You weren't supposed to have always A's in something that you had no idea about. These things like traumatized us, okay? It traumatized us. And even into our adult lives, it's traumatized us to the point that we had to have spouses a certain way. Our kids had to be a certain way. We had to be a good parent. We had to be a good mom. You had to be a good boss. You had to be good at everything. And yet, how's this? You were good at it. You're damn good at it, but it still wasn't okay because you had to be perfect. But let me give you my perspective of that. I know I'm good at what I do. And that is not egotistical. That's not arrogance. That's accepting the fact that I am good at what I do. Not what you do. You're good at what you do. I am good at what I do. And I need to be okay with that. That means I am perfect for me. And I may be flawed in other parts of my life, but am I flawed? Or is it a perspective that I'm just not good at that? And that's okay. I'm not supposed to be good at every little thing. I'm supposed to be good at what I do. Okay? What I do. And you know what? You're not going to be good at what I do. And that's okay too. You see, we've got it all messed up. None of us is supposed to be on point, perfect for every little thing in the world. That is just not even realistic. That's not even supposed to happen. But guess what? You know a perfectionist? A perfectionist actually thinks they are supposed to be. That's the fear of the perfectionist. It's not good enough that you take a class and you're okay and you get a C and you're like, okay, average, but I passed and that's okay. You think you're an imposter because you're not perfect. You know what? We are the only ones that give ourselves the stress. It's time to chill. It's time to cut the parental issues off. It's time to realize that, you know what? It's okay to fuck up. What you think is a fuck up for you might not be. And people around you might be thinking, how the hell does she do that? That's amazing. But to you, it's not good enough because you don't feel you're good enough. You see, one day I woke up and I told myself, I am fucking good enough. And that the people in my life that can't accept me for me don't deserve me. But I had to accept me for me. You see, I had to tell myself I am good enough. I had to tell myself I'm beyond good enough. I had to value myself. I had to find it within myself that, you know what, I didn't have to prove anything to anybody. What I did and who I was and how I did it was beyond good enough because I put everything I have into it. That matters to me. That's not being a perfectionism. That is being Melanie. That is being PK. That is being me. That is who I am. I love what I do. And when I love what I do, it's not about perfection. It's about enjoying my process and enjoying what I do. Yeah, I'm going to screw up. Yeah, I might not have all my words right. Yeah, I might not have every fitness class I do right. Maybe I might stutter. Maybe I might not, maybe I might screw up on my count. Maybe I might not call a client because I forgot. But you know what? That's okay. Get this. That is okay. And what is okay is that, you know what? We all do it. Nobody's running around keeping score saying she did this. No, the only person that's doing that is yourself. And only yourself is getting down on your case. And if you're around, and if you're with somebody who is treating you that way, it's because something inside of you is reflecting, I am not good enough. And so you create people in your life, and we all have, to make us feel inferior. The only way they can make us feel inferior is if we allow that, and we feel inferior within ourselves, about ourselves. But the moment we realize that we are good enough, and we realize our self-worth, and we realize our value, and we realize our capabilities, and we own it, do you know what ends up happening? The perfectionist goes away. We relax, and you know what happens? Real magic happens. Now we can actually enjoy what we do, who we are, our friends, and the people in our life. So you know what? Stop sabotaging yourself. Get over the fucking perfectionism, and you know what? Relax, because that is when you do your best work. This is PK saying, have a good one. It's overrated. Ahuiho.